Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. COVID-19 infections in the Reggae Boyz delegation traveling to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, continue to increase as 2 more members test positive. The Jamaica Football Federation, JFF, says a player and a member of its technical staff have fallen prey to the disease. 2 other players are under investigation, with the JFF declining to name them. The Reggae Boyz are scheduled to play 2 international friendlies against the Saudis, with the first set for this Saturday at the Prince Faisal bin Fahad Stadium. On Monday, it was announced that 30-year-old goalkeeper Dennis Taylor, who had been traveling with the Reggae Boyz delegation, returned a positive test while in London en route to Riyadh. Taylor was confined to isolation in London. The number of COVID-19 infections in the Reggae Boyz camp, in addition to the late arrival of some players, have raised doubts as to whether Saturday's friendly will go ahead. It's been 8 months since the Reggae Boyz last played an international match. But despite their inactivity, they remain at number 48 in the FIFA World Rankings, even displacing Costa Rica at number 3 on the CONCACAF list. The Reggae Boyz are on course to end the year at number 1 in the Caribbean, ahead of Curacao and Haiti. George, based on that, would you not agree that a postponement or cancellation of the first or both set of matches wouldn't greatly affect the Reggae Boyz?
Yeah, because they are, in terms of their ranking, they won't be affected in terms of what they'll end 2020 at. And they are in a good place from that perspective. But that's the minor point.
Right.
The major point is that Theodore Whitmore, who has a Gold Cup to prepare for, who has World Cup qualifiers to prepare for, has seen, like every other, well, not even like most, because the European coaches have had the benefit of the Nations League to give their teams valuable game practice. But like many coaches around the world, Whitmore's plans from the start of the year would have been disrupted by COVID-19, would have had to be ripped up. He has lost several opportunities to look at his players. Remember, individually, the Jamaica Reggae Boyz squad is a powerful squad. It is a very good team individually. Whitmore's problem is getting the players to play together to see who fits together best, to see which combinations are winning combinations, to see which core of players he can build the squad around. And the fact is, if he loses these 2 games, it will be almost a mortal blow to him in a severely disrupted year. And I know that he is hoping desperately that everything goes well and he's able to field a squad against these Saudis for the 2 games. And from my perspective as a Reggae Boy fan, I really, really hope that these games go ahead, because Whitmore needs the games to pull this squad together ahead of some serious assignments next year.
Wayne, what do you think about the Reggae Boyz, of course, going ahead despite some of the players and 1 technical staff being affected by COVID-19?
I tell you, the JFF, I mean, you know, it's so untidy. You know, things continue to show up in the JFF. You know, even the report that the secretary got to Saudi Arabia late. I mean, I heard that some guys, when they did the COVID test in Jamaica, they flew out without getting the results, and therefore one of the players was tested positive. The results came out while he was in London. It is so untidy the way they are doing things. I can't imagine that with so many other guys, you know, contracting the disease, some getting there late. Their preparation must be at a red. I mean, must be not very frustrating for the coach at the moment. And I'm really hoping that after spending so much money and planning and preparing for these 2 games, that the games would have to be called off because of this COVID situation. I'm really hoping that it'll be worked out and they'll be able to play, because as George alluded to, it's very important for Theodore Whitmore to get the nucleus of players together in preparations for a very hectic and a very busy 2021.
And George and Wayne, do you see, of course, the rest of the players are getting excited, ready to just have some sort of sport. So let's just say the games are called off. What happens to the rest of the players that are physically there and, you know, have mentally prepared to engage in some sort of activity, especially because of the pandemic and not being able to play sports? Well,
it'll be a monumental waste on many fronts. As Wayne said, financially, it's going to be a disaster to have flown so far when the funds could have been redirected elsewhere. And also, as you say, the inactivity. Those players who are looking ahead to this, not just looking to play some football, but looking to nudge the coach to say, coach, consider me when you are putting together that core group for the Gold Cup campaign and for the very important matter of the World Cup qualifiers. So the opportunity for the players, it's a tremendous opportunity, and every man who's in Saudi Arabia believes that they have the potential to cement a place in the squad. Not necessarily the starting 11, because you're going to need more than a starting 11 if you're going to win the Gold Cup and if you're going to get success in the World Cup qualifiers. So it will rob the players of a significant opportunity to cement their own spaces in the squad if they can't play the games. And look, consider where you're traveling from. You're traveling from Kingston to London to Saudi Arabia. If you do all of that and can't play even one football game, it'll be a monumental waste on so many fronts. And the players, I'm sure, will be very, very disappointed, and it will be damaging, I believe, to the national program.
No doubt, George. I mean, you know, I've played in a Jamaica team already where we went to St. Lucia. It rained 4 days. Then we left there and went to Ghana, and it rained 4 days. We went on tour. Everybody put on weight when they came out to Jamaica. Of course, it must be very disappointing for the guys. And to add insult to injury, George, is that so many local-based players were named in the team to give them that opportunity. Because, you know, once the other guys, the professional guys from overseas, once they are drafted in, then those local-based players will not get that type of opportunity. So therefore, it is so crucial for them to get an opportunity to play, to show exactly their worth at that level.
Imagine this though. Imagine leaving Kingston COVID-free, going to London.
Not certain.
I
mean, you did the test.
Well, hold on. Yeah, man. So the test says you're COVID-free.
No, but
So-
the point Wayne is making is they didn't get the results.
No,
They
man.
didn't get the results.
Hold on. Imagine leaving Kingston COVID-free, going to London, no problem. Going to Saudi Arabia, mingling with someone who has COVID and catching COVID in Saudi Arabia, and you don't get to play the football. So you have traveled to Saudi Arabia effectively to get COVID. It's a damaging
But were they in a
thing
bubble,
to
George?
think about.
Weren't they in fact inside of a bubble once they got to Saudi Arabia?
The thing is, it can happen. Look, I agree with you about the local leg. It was messy because
Yes,
no man should have
definitely.
set foot on that plane without the result in hand. That's a fact. But then again, you have players coming from disparate parts. Players meeting up in London, players coming from the US to London or going wherever. It is a possibility because look, let's not be naive about it. Jamaica is not the only national team that has been affected by COVID positive results. There have been several friendlies in Europe in the UEFA Nations League which have been affected because players at the ultimate professional level have been struck down by COVID. None bigger than Mohamed Salah, the Liverpool superstar, who has contracted COVID while on national duties with Egypt as they play African
Right.
national football. So I'm saying it can happen. Players are coming from different parts. They're going through different transit points. They can get COVID. The damaging thing is this: for a player to have left Jamaica negative, gone to London, then to Saudi Arabia, didn't get to play football, and then get COVID on top of it. It's
So
a really
these
ugly
results are
prospect.
always 100% accurate because we have heard in the past where guys are tested, our results came out positive when in fact they're actually negative.
Right.
Is there a possibility exists that the test the results could be incorrect and therefore they could do it again?
No, well, I mean, everything is faulty, Wayne. Nothing is set in stone. But at the end of the day, if you do the test, you get the assurance that you're fine.
Yeah, it's a good question. And Mariah is right, Wayne. It's better to have that assurance of a negative test in hand than to not know, because the feeling will be that, well, you had this before you got the result was positive, but you got the result late.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying it is a possibility that the result could be a false reading.
That's what
is
I'm
what you're
asking.
saying.
Right.
Yeah, the false readings have happened, but the methods that they've used in the tests for the testing rather pretty much comes back with the right result. But there have been instances where there have been false readings, false negatives, false positives given for people who've been subject to COVID tests in the
I
past.
can't imagine that Reggae Boyz, should they play, they're going to be victorious in these 2 games because the whole
No,
preparation and getting there, the struggles that involved, talking about guys that are traveling in coach, economic class and the management traveling business class, and there are issues with that. They're complaining about money, and then they settled onto. I've told the president, I said, Mr. President, you cannot have a situation where every time there's an international game, you meet the players in a hotel room. Something needs to break, and they need to even set up their own union and have a team of guys to negotiate on their behalf so that they can prepare and concentrate on the game at hand.
But Wayne,
It's going to be very surprising to me should they do well in these 2 games.
Well, Wayne, we have to remember that the Reggae Boyz would have their eyes set on, of course, being #1 in the Caribbean. So that alone can act as a motivator. And then you talk about the issues, but the point is they got it settled before they get on the field. Also, there are players who are hungry to play for the Gold Cup and all these different things.
I can't imagine that they're worried or concerned about being #1 in the Caribbean. I could understand that they want to ensure that the best preparations going into the Gold Cup and so on. But for me to think about the fact that, listen, we need to play these games because we want to be #1 in the Caribbean, I think that would be the least of their problems.
Well, they need to work on their goals. We'll go to break and come back.